space.
What is the conversation that we have with our countrymen, as Chris Cuomo calls them, as opposed to calling them allies? Because he's like, we're not at, well, we are kind of at war, but his thing was that we're countrymen, we are side by side, we're equal. So I feel like I like that term a little bit more than ally.
Yes, I mean, the ally word, is time for us to push it. It's time for us to push it. So when white people in this country come to us and ask us what they could do, that's one stance they could take. They could genuinely and sincerely come to us in our black and brown bodies and ask what they can do. Now, when they ask, you have the right to say, I don't have the capacity to teach you, or I don't want to teach you. Listen, education was something that wasn't even afforded to us as black and brown people. So if we had to jump through hoops and overcome obstacles to be educated, you can do the same. So when people come to us and ask us,
and we're talking specifically about this type of thing.
Yes, when they come to us and ask us, what can I do? What can I do to help? You have a choice. You could actually educate them, or you could say, I don't want it. I don't want to expend any of my energy teaching you. That's one stance.
Yeah.
And the way that we're going to push the ally, because it is time for us to push that conversation. And I forget who the quote is from, but ally is great. And Rihanna put it on the map when she was like, all right, all my white people, pull up and be an ally. That's great. Ally is one thing. Advocate is before an ally. An advocate is a person who is talking about you when you're not even in the room. So they're saying, these are white people in corporate America, in every place of employment, everywhere, saying there are some injustices that are happening, that XYZ, right? That's an advocate. Then the allies are the ones that are side by side with you in the protest. But we need to push that even further. We need accomplices. We need people that's getting in there and getting dirty. Like literally, I'm starting this. Like I am the one that's leading the movement and dismantling the barriers. That is a push.
Right.
We have to get past advocate, because that's just a spokesperson, ally, walking with me. No, I need you to be accomplice. Literally take this burden. Go ahead. You talk to your people. You start the work.
Right.
So that's what we would say in response to white people in this country. Literally get to work and being an accomplice.
I think that is so empowering, because so many people feel paralyzed. Not only do we as Black people feel paralyzed in this moment, but our allies feel paralyzed in this moment. So I think that that's a great way for them to say, there is something I can do. How can I be an accomplice in this? What can I do? And when you asking yourself, what can you do? You know, if you're a business owner, how many people, and I don't even want to say people of color, right? I want to say, how many Black people do you have working for your company? Because we understand people of color is a very broad term that was used in order to kind of not have to give Black people everything, right? But then now they can sprinkle it across the board and say, look, see, we did something for you, but yet we're still the ones that are getting the least of whatever resources they're giving people of color, right? People of color are supposed to be Indians, Asians, Spanish, and Blacks.
Yeah.
We do see a large group of support, a large amount of support from different groups of people, which is amazing. I think this is so amazing that all 50 states have protested in the name of George Floyd and injustices against Black people. I think it's so amazing to see how many people around the world have come together to
take your time,
to stand up and say, I can't ignore this anymore. And it's regardless of how we got here, and it's regardless of what is even happening with the protest and it being taken over and being infiltrated. And I think what's important is that the question has to continuously be, how did we get here and what can I do to change it, right? Not the focus on, well, they're looting, they're rioting. Well, why are they looting and rioting? Let's keep the focus there. And then I think it's really important at this moment for people to be very aware of their language, what they're saying. So we know Drew Brees, I mean, what were you smoking last night? Seriously, what were you smoking for you to come out and say, I don't want anyone disrespecting the military and the flag by taking a knee when the season starts again, when this is the exact reason why we took a knee.
Mm-hmm.
And Kaepernick was informed by former military personnel that taking a knee is actually the most respectful thing that he can do to speak his voice, but still be respectful at the same time. So what is this? What is this thing that we constantly come up against where corporations, companies, people use their freedom of speech to attack Black people? We go after them, and then they issue an apology.
You know, we're in a new era. Like you for as long prior to the social media era, Black and brown people didn't have access to what we're doing right now. So it was, you know, you could count. In fact, you probably couldn't for the longest time. It was you probably only knew 2 or 3 Black or brown people in the industry. Now with the social media era that we're in, you can do this. You can talk. So in the past, that might have been slid under the rug by a bunch of people who thought just like him. Now, he got such a backlash from what he did in a chocolate city, in a sport where my wife is from, where Black people are proud and strong, and also in a sport that's predominantly Black, and he still felt like this was well within his right to do, and there wasn't going to be a significant backlash. And then the backlash came so hard because of social media, because we, Black and brown people, we're not censored here on this medium. So we were able to make our voice be heard.
With the quickness.
And he changed his position.
With the quickness.
Overnight.
And now, I didn't hear his apology. So what exactly did he say? Was it a general apology?
You know what? It's not important. I don't even want to dignify it by giving it any energy or time or space on this broadcast.
I hear that.
But the key thing to take away from it is, and I'll let my wife roll with this, but you're talking about a person who people don't make those types of shifts in how they think overnight.
So in 2020, what I like about 2020, what Cullen was leading into is another thing I like about 2020 is we are getting clear on, like you said, how many companies have Black employees, and we're gonna push that even further. Show me your board of directors in your boardroom. Like, show me that. I want to see us in that room.
Right.
Not just employees, right? Mm-hmm. I want to see your dollars going to Black businesses, Black organizations. We want to see that too. Mm-hmm. And with regards to white people making comments where they put their foot all the way in their mouth, and just all the way in there, and disrespecting. Again, I'm from New Orleans. Literally, we made you a hometown hero. You know, all right, Drew Brees, you out, but New Orleans Saints all day. That's what we do, right? That's how we're gonna separate it. And to recognize that you made a comment and the next morning you have this perfectly typed apology, that's brilliant for your press. But it's offensive to me in twofold. Yes, I'm from New Orleans, born and raised, love it. Yes, I recognize that he's speaking for his grandfather and all those other people. But 2, I'm also offended because as a person who does relationship coaching and all things health and relationship, and a person who actually does racial equity work, restorative justice work, I need you to show papers and document for how you go through that stance one night and the next morning you have this woke apology. No, we actually process people through the actual workshops of racial equity. That's the first lens. Yeah. Then the second set of workshops you need to be in and actually unpacking is undoing racism. Show me where you did that. And then finally you get to the restorative justice practices, which is an apology and making amends and restoring conflict. So for you to start at restorative justice, that's the end of the cycle. And again, it's doubly offensive to me because we literally do this work. And not just with white people, but with people in general, just letting them know that 1, racial equity, that's the work. That work can take you anywhere from a year to see your biases, implicit and explicit. 2, there is some very clear undoing racism work that we have to do in this country, in corporations, and in different community affinity groups. And then 3, if you want to do the work of healing, you have to engage in restorative practices. So you can't go from saying a statement and then the next morning you have an apology without going through those processes of work. There are systems already in place for people to undo racism, really go into racial equity, and implement restorative justice. An apology is restorative justice. That's the last part. You have to do some more work before you get there. So it was so offensive on so many levels because I recognize that it is skipping processes and no one is exempt from this work. So that's why he didn't get a pass, because everyone has to do the work. You're not exempt.
You're not exempt. One of the, and we're going to wrap this part of it up in a second. I know there's a book called White Privilege, I believe, that is out. And I think there's been a couple platforms that have suggested that, you know, our allies or our accomplices, if they want to start somewhere, they can start with a resource like a book called White Privilege.
And someone wrote an article about 75 things white people could do. The education is out there. Don't ask me to now educate you. If I want to, fine. But if I don't, our time is very valuable. Black people, time is money for us. We weren't given trust funds to sit with 3 months and 3 years to help you undo racism. No, time is valuable. So if I want to, I can, but I can also choose to tell you, no, go and seek out the resources.
Right. I can appreciate that. One thing you said to me earlier, which I just blew my heart, and just